Welcome back, Nerd Squad, the Top 10 Nerd. I'm your host, Johnny Rogers. If you happen to be new here, we put out daily content on all things nerd, so to never miss another informative and exciting video, make sure you tap that subscribe button. Plus, leave us a comment down below with what you love most about Scott Summers. Now, while you ponder that, let's jump into today's list of the top 10 strongest alternate versions of Cyclops. In at number 10, Becoming the Phoenix. Now I know this version of Cyclops is from the 616 continuity, but the storyline arc for Avengers vs. X-Men saw a tremendous change in power for Scott Summers. When the Avengers got wind that the Phoenix Force was attempting to approach Earth again, they stopped at nothing to prevent the X-Men from getting their hands on it. The X-Men, well, mainly Scott, believed that the Force needed to merge with Hope Summers to breathe some new life into the mutant race. Although when Tony Stark tried to stop the Phoenix Force and prevent its destructive aspects, he accidentally split the Force into 5 pieces. Each of these pieces then merged with the X-Men, with Cyclops being the only one to hold onto it for the longest amount of time. After his allies were defeated, the Force would then leave them. With Scott now having the lone power of the Phoenix Force, he became inebriated with power for which he used to oppress those living on Earth. He was so strong and unstoppable that it took Nova, the Scarlet Witch, and Hope Summers just to stop him. In at number 9, Space Pirate Cyclops. This has to be my absolute favorite version of Cyclops for that name alone. His sweet name aside though, the Space Pirate Cyclops is one strong mutant. Not only does he fly around in a spaceship as the leader of the Starjammers, he also carries 2 swords. How cool is that? Hailing from Earth 1298, this world is flipped on its head. We see heroes becoming villains and vice versa. Except for old Scotty Summers, he's just out in space living that pirate life with a slick grin on his face. The only real difference between this Scott and the others is the lack of control that he has over his optic blasts. In at number 8, 1602. Coming at you from the Elizabethan era, don't let his funny name fool you, this version of Cyclops is hella strong. In this era, Scott, or Scottius, and his fellow mutants are actually referred to as Witchbreed, which, just like in the 616, makes them outcasts amongst the humans. He does hold a lot of the same powers and abilities as his 616 counterpart, but imagine those powers in 1602. If we're viewing this alternate reality of Cyclops in this place and time, he would be supremely more powerful than anyone else living in that world. In at number 7, Earth 2182. This version of the X-Men is actually Nocturne's reality and is said to be set 20 years into the future from the 616. In this storyline, a feud began between Scott and Wolverine after the Shadow King controlled Wolverine and made him kill Professor X. Cyclops didn't care, and no matter what the case was, he could never forgive Logan for what he had done. When Scott left the X-Men, he created his own team and enacted vengeance. This version of Cyclops was so strong that he almost killed Wolverine. He too shares a lot of the same powers as his 616 counterpart, and along with the usual visor he wears, this version also has a metallic arm that can be used for combat. In at number 6, Ultimate X-Men. Hailing from Earth 1610 and making his first appearance in the 2001 issue of Ultimate X-Men #1, this universe explored the X-Men origins set in the 21st century. Although this universe is very similar to the 616 continuity, it's not entirely identical. The team of X-Men in this issue are actually younger and therefore have less experience saving the world from evil. For the most part, the mutants have maintained their power levels except for Scott Summers. The Cyclops and Ultimate X-Men started taking this growth hormone called Banshee, which as a result dramatically increases powers and abilities. Usually Cyclops can only fire those energy blasts from his eyes, but while on Banshee, he's able to harness this energy and use it differently. While on the growth hormone, Scott could fly and superpower his punches for a bigger impact overall. In at number 5, Earth 64894. First appearing in the What If Volume 2, number 64, this alternate version of Scott Summers has similar abilities to that of his 616 as well, except in this reality, Tony Stark sold his Iron Man technology, which then began a new arms race that ultimately led to the building of stronger Sentinels, which then began a new arms race that ultimately led to the building of stronger Sentinels. These Sentinels were meant for hunting mutants, and a lot of the X-Men were killed except for Cyclops. The real strength of this version of Scott comes from when Magneto attacked the United Nations, plus threatened to end all of mankind. Cyclops was so strong that he felt confident enough to confront Magneto with the small team of X-Men that he had left. Eventually the team was overwhelmed, but the important thing to mention here is that Cyclops was the last mutant standing. Even in his final moments, his last words were promising that Magneto would be stopped. And at number 4, Earth 295. In this reality, Charles Xavier has been long gone ever since being murdered by his son from the future. This resulted in the Age of Apocalypse, which meant that humanity was nearing its extinction. In this world, Scott is actually known as Prelate Summers, which comes from a rank that he acquired while working in the army for Apocalypse. The main difference between this Scott and the 616 is that he is a literal Cyclops in the Earth 295 universe. In this alternate reality, Cyclops is an alpha mutant, which gives him the ability to absorb energy from his environment and then store it within his cells. His energy eyeblasts are so strong that he can destroy adamantium and has even blown off the hand of Weapon X. In at number 3, Corporal Scott. Many of these alternate realities bear a striking resemblance to the mainstream 616 universe, but in the TRN 231 continuity, things are pretty different. This timeline placed the mutants in a pivotal role for the American Civil War era. Scott Summers worked his way through the army's ranks very fast and played a key role in turning the tides during the war. Corporal Summers didn't stop there though. He was so powerful that eventually his new mission became hunting down evil alternate reality versions of Xavier. You gotta be super strong to do that. In at number 2, Basilisk. This version of Scott Summers is from Earth 11326, and at the tender age of 14, he first discovered his powers completely by accident. A horrendous accident at that. While watching a movie in a theater, Scott's lasers blasted from his eyes, killing 7 people along with his own parents. He was then transferred to Alcatraz, which is where the prison governor Arcade discovered that using ruby quartz would help Scott control his powers. He was then fitted with this terrifying looking mask with the ruby quartz as lenses, and to make things more terrifying, his eyelids were also removed. His powers in this alternate reality though were used for very nefarious means. As the Basilisk, Cyclops was in charge of executing mutant inmates for the prison. Lastly, on our number 1 spot, Cyclops DEATHLOK. The deadly combination of Cyclops with the DEATHLOK technology was on full display in his very first appearance of the Uncanny X-Force number 5 in the Earth 11045 continuity. The Cyclops DEATHLOK is the reanimated corpse of Scott Summers, and as such still maintains the same powers that Cyclops has. However, with the DEATHLOK machinery controlling Cyclops using a computer brain and augmented bionic body parts, his powers were not just maintained but greatly enhanced. The bionic parts not only added to his arsenal, but through its link to artificial intelligence, Cyclops was even protected from psychic assaults. And that has been the top 10 strongest alternate versions of Cyclops. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, show us some love here by tapping that like and subscribe button. Plus, leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on this list. And for more videos like this one, all you gotta do is click that playlist on your screen. It's just that easy. Do it now. From Top 10 Nerd, I'm Johnny Rogers. Until next time, take care.